Hi everybody, it's Mr. D at In the Middle with Mr. D1 at blogspot.com with teaching tips for lesson 20, day 1 of my sight singing program S Cubed. It's available on Teachers Pay Teachers at Music in the Middle with Mr. D. S Cubed stands for Successful Sight Singing, and this program is for middle school students. And so I have named this lesson Doubling. And basically it's just a different way to refer to subdividing. But for many, many years, I used the term subdividing when I would be talking with my students. Their faces would glaze over, especially 6th grade. They had no clue what I was talking about. So I was just fighting to make them understand a term that was really difficult for their brains to understand at that age. So one day I just randomly threw out the term doubling, and they all of a sudden understood, and the concept worked. So I think sometimes we musicians tend to, and myself included, talk over the heads of the students that we're teaching. I have totally inexperienced students in my classroom. They come to me with very little background. So I want them to understand the concepts. Will I use the term subdividing one day? Yes, sure. Maybe in late 7th grade, early 8th grade, once they have gotten, my students have gotten lots of experience. But now I'm going to use the term doubling. So today we're presenting that concept. And the warm-up is to help them get their heads wrapped around that doubling concept. And then I'm going to give an explanation slide. I'm just going to show it. I'm going to go through it. You may want to print it out and hand it to your students and keep it in a folder or something that may help them. Because sometimes, like when I present this concept, I want them only to double the value of the notes when they actually sight sing an example, when it includes 8th notes. That's why we are doing it today, because we're adding 8th notes into the actual sight singing examples. They will not double when they do rhythm exercises, so this is basically what that slide refers to. So then we're going to do a group rhythm exercise, and it's just a basic one. We're developing 2-part independence. We're continuing to try to make sure the sopranos and altos are very confident and clear in their execution. We can ask questions about the unison rhythms and things and have them notice the other parts, because that's where they're headed in the 2-part sight singing that's coming in a few weeks. And then I ask a question about doubling. Are we going to double in group rhythm exercises? The answer, of course, is no, because I want them to understand that we only do it in the sight singing examples. Okay? Then we're going to do our game, and we're going to use low do, and then low la, and then low do. Do, la, do, as we're preparing to implement the tool that I call the Re, Fa, La tool that's coming in this particular lesson 20 in one of these days coming up. But we're not going to focus on that. We're going to play the game, then we're going to do some follow the hand as we always do. They're going to just focus on skips and steps, nothing difficult, but same as we've been doing. Then we're going to sing the sight singing example. Now when they look at that example today, they're going to see all those 8th notes. There are tons of pitches, and basically they're just going to practice using the concept of doubling. And I've tried to make it really conducive for that purpose, so the 8th note is getting the beat. We don't need to explain anything. We don't need to think 8 over 8 or anything like that. Just allow them to feel and experience these things. That's what we're doing in this whole program, S Cubed. It's level 1, I would call it. We're not trying to explain everything yet. Now we're using the key of F sharp. And you're gonna need to encourage support as they sing the scale to establish tonality. We want them to not be afraid of those higher notes. Although the sight singing example doesn't have any higher notes, we want to keep our patterns of scale and then arpeggio, because we're about to add yet another tool, the final tool for this particular level, S Cubed level 1. And I wrote some notes for the teachers as well. So they should have a very simple time with this and feeling. What I've learned about when they add 8th notes into sight singing examples and they're doubling, their rhythm is actually better because they feel that constant 8th note beat going, especially in the example that I've given today. So that's what you're going to get today, lesson 20, day 1, and S Cubed. I hope it's working for you. Please check out my lessons on Teachers Pay Teachers at Music in the Middle with Mr. D.